Hello everyone and welcome to AoR Games. I'm here with Lisa from Stirfire Studios. Is this your first foray into VR?
Basically, as a studio, it is our first virtual reality game. We started off at the Global Game Jam and decided to challenge ourselves to make a virtual reality game in 48 hours, and Symphony, the concept for Symphony was the result.
Oh, fantastic. What hurdles or struggles have you faced with VR? It's a very new front in gaming compared to other things like, console games and stuff like that. So what's the biggest challenge or difference that you've faced with VR games compared to, other forms of gaming?
Well, there's certainly some benefits of VR in that not many people have done games, but the challenges have definitely been to do with the language of virtual reality, and most of the people who try Symphony have never tried virtual reality before, and so you have to consider how they interact with the world, and they have no experience of it. If you think about a platformer game, everybody knows X to jump. But in a virtual reality world, how do I pick things up and manipulate things and move things around? All of that's really new and exciting and a challenge to communicate.
How would you describe Symphony of the Machine? Like, what kind of game is it, would you say? Is it like an adventure platformer? Is it a puzzle game? Like, I know it's a bit hard and restricted to put it in such a genre or category, but what's the easiest way for people to go, okay, it's a VR game, but what experience am I expecting out of this?
Yeah, it's a relaxing puzzle game. Essentially, there's so many virtual reality games out there which are really intense. They're shooter games or they're, monsters attacking you. This is nothing like that. This is about having a calming, relaxing space. You're going through the game bit by bit in your own time and solving puzzles and just enjoying the scenery and the environment.
I did get to play this game a little bit before, and I made this cute little remark that I was like, so you guys are from Perth? So I was like, is this what Perth looks like? Is it just big red barren hills everywhere, or is this what influenced the design behind Symphony of the Machine? Sorry.
Yeah, well, essentially in Symphony, you're starting off in this barren wasteland, and you could say it's inspired by parts of Australia or whatever, but the key idea behind it is you're transforming this space. You're bringing this world back to life. So as you go through the game, it becomes more green and more beautiful and more of a relaxing place you want to be in.
We've now been joined by V. What's your role in Stirfire Studios?
I'm the managing director, so I do all the not game things around the game. Does that count?
Yeah, that counts. For you, are you involved with games in any way, or are you just sort of like, I know how to manage businesses, so I'll do this for you, sort of thing? Or
I've been involved with games in one form or another for the last 15 years. So I do this because, if I wanted to manage a business, I could buy a McDonald's store and just have fun with it and make a bunch of money and then buy a yacht. I don't know. But that's not interesting enough. I could do games and actually give awesome talented people jobs and let people and basically facilitate the whole thing, which is really what I'm all about. I like to bring other people up.
what would you find from a business point where Australia is in the game industry? Like, we're quite isolated, even though we have a thing called the internet. So how we, especially like you guys being based in Perth, like, is it quite isolated? Is it quite small as a business? Or
So Australia, it is still isolated, you can't get away from that, but there have been enough success stories sort of post-GFC now. So there have been the Armellos and the Starhammers and the Crossy Roads, and there's enough business case there to show that we have got a thing going on here. Obviously seeing more of that is handy, but Victoria has a thriving scene. Brisbane's on the up. There's cool stuff coming out of New South Wales. WA is still lagging behind a bit because we don't really have a big scene there. We have an enthusiastic scene full of hobbyists, but there are only a couple of businesses out there that are actually shipping games.
they're starting to realize that it's not just mining that we can do. We can actually do creative things and innovate. Like, we know that video games are larger than movies these days, and yet it's still, I don't know, is there an attitude, do you feel, that video games are still for kids, or do you think it's changing where it's like everyone can be a gamer? Or is it like, because you've seen the rise of mobile games, the Wii sort of revolutionized the whole gaming market again. Do you think, is the attitudes changing towards games? Do you think VR is going to be a big step in that?
Well, one thing I've definitely seen with virtual reality is it takes down walls. People who don't play games still have that same amazed experience when they've played virtual reality for the first time, and I think it has an amazing power to do that. I have friends who've never played games who got to play virtual reality, and just they get into that experience and they go, I get it now, and that's what we really need to bring to our politicians and to anyone who hasn't played games for the last 20 years and go, no, really, come and see what we can do now.
It's not just Pac-Man anymore.
So I was at some business awards last year, and of course I was just won an award up on stage, and literally the person who's now Premier of Western Australia walked up to me and said, so tell me about this games thing then. And gave me 15 minutes of his time, important guy, and that was honest, because you can tell he's sitting there doing the maths going, there's an industry, I've got, he saw what Victorian Labor was doing, and he was going, well, I can do something here and kick some goals, because our mining industry is kind of dead right now. And it doesn't cost a lot of money to do, then sure, okay, great. And then that was the metrics there. I do a lot of work with investors, and you can walk into a room full of 50-something guys and put a headset on them and they think it's Star Trek. So there's a lot of wow factor in that whole investment community. And again, you talk about target markets. I mean, the most quantifiable target market are in their 30s. They're usually professional people. They've got disposable income. We're not just talking for kids anymore. Still that market, but it's part of a greater whole. And I mean, Symphony is a VR game, so that it has a slightly older target market because there are people who can afford the equipment.
Cool, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for being on AoR Games.
Thank you.
Thanks.